Exactly. So this same thing. Compressors in gas turbine have the same role as in the piston engine turbocharger. That is to increase the pressure. Okay, to increase the pressure as much as they can. There are two types of compressors which will we have in jet engines. One is this one. This is known as axial, and the right one is known as centrifugal. Both are compressors, and you can see here this one is the axial. Okay.
Centrifugal one is called impeller, right?
Yes, yes, good. Okay, we'll discuss all this. Now, we'll discuss in depth also centrifugal and axial. Right now, we have both of them together, so you can differentiate between them. This is a real picture, so that you have an idea what we are teaching, what we are taught. All right, you can see in the picture animated one in the below one. Centrifugal is basically mostly installed in a single top, okay, single road, single shaft type thing, mostly because it is very effective. But axial, because you can have a number of, you can see number of different stages, that is why it is also preferred. So we'll see what are the benefits, what are the disadvantages of both of them one by one. Okay, what is the role of compressor? The amount of thrust generated by the engine depends partially upon the mass of air flowing through it, right? That the bypass here, do you remember? That is what we're doing. So we have two options. If this is my engine, I have two options. One is the engine combustion part, and the second is the bypass. Now, as it's saying, it depends on these two values. Okay. The air must be compressed before having fuel added to it in the combustion chambers and subsequent expansion in the turbines. Now, can someone tell me by logic, why do we need to compress the air before we introduce it into the combustion chamber? Why do we need to compress the air before letting it go into the combustion chamber?
Because maybe more amount of fuel can be mixed with
Okay,
compressor.
better economy, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Anything else?
To increase the pressure
अच्छा वो तो सेम ही है pressure.
uh,
Okay,
and speed, I guess, the
speed what?
exhaust speed
Speed,
of
exhaust
engine.
speed.
Yes, if the pressure will be high, this will be compressed, and after this combustion, it will add up the power, no? I guess.
When
Okay,
air is compressed, the temperature will increase. That will
good,
put more
good.
air flow.
Wow.
Hmm.
Okay, you're getting to the point. I am just looking for one more thing, one more factor which you're missing. Acha, tell me, does anyone of you smoke? No? Acha. So we'll exclude this example. Just a small example. If you guys are riding a bicycle or a bike, okay, and if you try, okay, if you're riding a bicycle, if you try to flame a lighter, will it light? When you try to switch on the lighter, will it start to give the flame?
Would be difficult for that, right?
So that is the same thing which happens here. In the combustion chamber, we are waiting to ignite the fuel. But if the velocity is so high of the air, that exhaust, that flame will be shut off or will be cooled down. Okay, it will not even take place. So when we increase the pressure, the velocity reduces. That is the main reason we do this also. Okay, these are the three factors, of course, that lead to the economy. That is the end result. But we increase the pressure so that it will help us in getting a better ratio, and also because increasing temperature and reducing the velocity so that we can burn it, burn that fuel. Main reason is that. Sure. So this is the centrifugal compressor. Where is it? You can see this part. Okay, we'll discuss now the centrifugal compressor. You can see this. It has two parts. Okay, I'll explain in this only. This is the eye where you introduce the air This part is known as impeller, and this part is known as diffuser. Okay, just giving a slight introduction to all of this. I is where the airflow is introduced. Okay, air goes here. Because of the centrifugal name itself, centrifugally or a centrifugal force is applied by these impellers. They are the ones that generate the pressure. Okay, and the diffuser, you can see diffusers are like your guide. Okay, they guide the airflow outside wherever that is required in the stages. Okay, so diffusers are the guides, or in simple terms, they also increase the pressure, but you see the velocity is also increased here somewhat. The pressure here increases and the velocity drops. That is the use of diffuser. There's the main use of diffuser basically is to guide the airflow. Okay, all right. So the centrifugal compressor is much more robust, easy, and cheaper to manufacture. Robust means that it does not break easily, or it is very built quality is good. That you can say. It does not have it has the following disadvantages. As we know, we have two types, axial and compressor. So there must be some disadvantage. That's why people or scientists, engineers made axial. So what are the disadvantages of a centrifugal? The frontal area. The axial one can consume far more air than the centrifugal. The simple reason is because of, you can see, instead of just one layer, there are multiple layers. One after the another, the air compresses itself more and more. High compression ratios can be reached in the axial. Okay, that is the same reason. The centrifugal compressor engine will have less thrust than the axial flow compressor with the same frontal area. Okay, this is the only reason. We'll discuss some more things about it. You can see this is the eye, this is the impeller. Okay, and then we have the discharge or diffuser. The action of the turbine rotates the impeller. Okay, why is it resonant? I have already explained you how the jet engine works. Okay, there are basic three stages. If I talk about a spool, what is a spool? Okay, spool has, let's say, a compressor. This is a compressor we're talking about. Okay, this is joined by a shaft, and over right side we have is what? This is the turbine. So it is the turbine which is turning the compressor. So that is what it's saying. Okay. The action of the turbine rotates the impeller of the compressor. Air is introduced continuously into the eye of the impeller, rotating the guide vanes. Centrifugal force causes the air to flow outwards. All right. The divergent shape of the vane increases the pressure of the air as it flows outwards. And because we are adding energy into the equation, the air velocity also increases. But the job of the diffuser is the one that it increases the pressure more. You can see if this is the what effect is this? This is the Venturi effect. You can see here. Okay, if I increase my area, hence my pressure will increase and the velocity will reduce. So this is the, whereas the impeller does the job of both. It increases the velocity as well as the pressure. The air leaves the tip of the impeller, passes into a diffuser, a system of stationary divergent ducts. Divergent duct, okay. I've already explained you divergent duct, so you can imagine what is happening in this. Designed to convert the velocity into the pressure. Approximately 50% of the pressure rise across the compressor occurs in the impeller, and the other 50% is in the diffuser itself. All right. The compression ratio of a single stage centrifugal compressor will be 4:1. All right, that means that whatever air you introduced, it has become more than around 4 times the initial pressure. Any doubts in this? No, it's easy, right? Okay. The principles of the fifth thing which is involved in this is to attain a greater engine compression. What we need to do, we can use, instead of a one single centrifugal compressor, we can add one more. That is how we achieve more compression ratios. But then if you are installing two different sets of compressors, then you will need another shaft, and that is hectic. Instead of that, you can use an axial one. Okay, so by using two compressors or two centrifugal compressor, you can achieve ratios of 15:1. Okay, at the elbows of the compressor outlet, casing cascade vanes are fitted. Now, what do you understand by the elbow? You see this? Okay, elbow basically is the part where it twists itself. Okay, you have an elbow in your arm, right? That is the place where you can twist around the arm, your hand also on the arm, frontal arm, whatever you say. So that's the same thing. Okay, so you have a casing. Casing protects the airflow and keeps it inside. Okay, the casing also gives the metal a little expansion, allows it to expand more and all. Because if it heats, then the metal will expand. So the casing caters for that. You can see this is the casting of the casing. These enable the air to turn through the large angles with a minimum loss. They are also used to complete the diffusion. Okay, as I told you, they are the ones which are keeping the air inside also. So that is these are just the points which can be also asked in the exams. Okay, now we'll come to the axial compressor. See how it works. Okay, simply we have the same set of things. Okay, right now we just discussed centrifugal, and I'll write down the components which are involved. We have the eye, we have the impeller, and we have the diffuser. Okay, now in this also axial, we have the same things, but the names are given different. Okay, there is no eye in this. You can introduce the airflow anywhere, it will not matter. But you have, instead of an impeller, you have something called rotor. Then you have stator. Okay, stator plays the role of diffuser and impeller plays the role of rotor, and we'll see how it works. Okay, so you can see a rotor. The first thing which is involved is rotor. The principle of the axial flow compressor. It's also uses to convert the kinetic energy into the potential energy. The axial flow compressor consists of several rows of rotating rotor blades. Okay, with rows of stationary diffuser or stator blades fixed. So you can see the combination is like this: stator, rotor, stator, rotor. What is happening in this is stator plays the role of diffuser, or basically stator is stationary. Now, when an object is stationary and airflow is hit, you can understand what is happening. There is a high increase in pressure and the drop in velocity. The next step is the rotor. Rotor does the part where rotors are what? Spinning discs. These are spinning. So rotor is doing what? It is continuously increasing the pressure and the velocity. Okay. So what is rotor? Rotor plays the role of impeller. Okay. That is how you need to understand. You can see this is a multi-stage compressor. Okay. Only the rotors are visible here, but you can see always we have a combination of both. A stage consists of one rotor, one row of rotors, then we have one row of stators, and that is how it works. Okay, which are fastened to the compressor outer casing. Now, what is the outer casing? We have already seen this. This is the casing. Okay, we'll see how it works. Wait, I have a picture. I'll show you how both of them are attached together and one by one. On both the rotor and the stator, the spaces between the blades form divergent passages. Okay, you can see this is narrow and this is broad. Okay, and this place is again divergent, divergent, divergent. So all these places, the pressure increases, velocity reduces. In the rotor, which is turned continuously at high speed by the turbine, mechanical energy is added into both kinetic and the pressure. All right, as I told you, rotor has the job of both increasing the velocity and increasing the pressure. Stator is stationary, so its job is simple: to stop the airflow, reduce the velocity, and increase the pressure. Okay, now you can see in this picture, this whole part is your compressor. Okay, see how huge this engine is, and you can see down also. I'm trying to explain you how this works. We have first the rotor. The rotor is attached to the engine. The stator is attached to the casing. So this is very important. Okay, this is the casing and this is the engine. Of course, this whole part is the engine, but you need to understand, if you want to distinguish between them, the rotor is the one which is spinning. Okay, it is continuously spinning. And why is it spinning? Because it is attached to the shaft that is connected to the turbine. But the stator is fixed. Stator is stationary. It is attached to the outer casing. All right. Remember this. I've also put this into the notes so that you guys don't confuse yourself. The pressure rise across each stage is very small. It is only 1.2:1. But remember, as I told you, you can see how many stages are there. So if you multiply it by some whatever the stages we have, we can reach at least the ratios of 35:1. That is very large. And that is why the axial compressor is used. Okay. Now you can see one thing for sure, that I told you that all of this in between will cause something, a divergent duct. All right, and that is how it is made. So all in all, let's do a comparison of both them, which we studied till now, axial and centrifugal. Axial consists of rotor and stator, and this is the stator. It's stator. Yeah, correct. Rotor, row of rotating blades fastened to the compressor outer casing. Okay. अच्छा, rotor उल्टा लिख दिया गया. No, it's correct. Impeller is rotating divergent wheels. So in this, you can see velocity increases, pressure increases, both are increasing. In all this also, both are increasing. But in the stator, this is in the velocity is increasing, the pressure is dropping. The velocity is increasing, the pressure is dropping. Okay. I think I've done one slide mistake is here. Acha, sorry. Right, this is correct only. You should see this part. Velocity is reducing, pressure is increasing. All right, velocity is increasing, reducing, pressure is increasing. So the arrow is a little shifted, so it feels like there's a mistake, but there's no mistake in this. For a stage, we can see the ratio is this, but as we know, in the centrifugal compressor, there is only one stage. If you want to add, you can add, but that's very costly. Here you can keep on adding. So overall, the maximum compression ratios reached are more in axial. Okay, you can find this table in notes as well. It can handle more airflow, whereas centrifugal compressors can handle less airflow. Right? Sure. Stator in a turbine is convergent. Velocity increases as the pressure reduces, but the rotor, the stator, अच्छा ये rotor होगा. This is rotor. Okay. Stator in the compressor is divergent. Velocity decreases, pressure increases. You can see these are attached to the turbine. As I told you, the rotor is attached to the compressor. The compressor is attached to the turbine. So they are attached to the engine by this method. Now, if you see this method, this is known as fir tree root. You can see how these grooves are made. Okay, what they do is they slide it from the right or left. Okay, why do they slide it? Because when the engine is rotating, what will happen is they will be pushed outside. Now, when they're slided in, when the engines are rotating and they're pushed outside, there is no use. There will be no breaking away of these rotors. This is beneficial. Why? Suppose that one of them breaks away or it's damaged. So you can simply pull this out from this side and you can replace it. You don't have to change the whole stage. All right, these two other advantages of this method. Okay, turbine and compressor blades are fastened to the rotor disc by a Fir-Tree fixing method. They're initially loose to cater for the thermal expansion. That is why when you hear the engine starting up, you'll actually hear the metal blades creating some noise, because initially they are very loosely fit. Okay, when centrifugally we apply, or the centrifugally the engine applies a force, then they get tighter and tighter. And that is the very best advantages of this particular fixing method. All right, heat, pressure, and velocity, all these things add to its fixation. And that is the only reason they don't break away, fall apart. Okay. The ground ideal values of N1 is 25%, N2 is 60%. Now, what is N1 and N2? If you remember the first chapter, I told you N1 is the spool number 1. Okay, there are 2 spools in an engine F. This is the spool number 1. This is the spool number 2. Okay, spool is a combination of your compressor and a turbine shaft. And N2 is the shaft number 2, which means that compressor number 2 and the turbine number 2 put together. The rotor shaft, the root of the blade is shaped into a dovetail joint. Now, what is a dovetail joint? It's like this. If I have two different, this is, let's say this is a rotor and this is a disc in which the rotor is installed. So how are they fixed? They are fixed like this. All right. So that when I apply, I try to break away or apply a force in this method, they don't break away or they don't break apart. Right. So the rotor, the root of the blade is shaped into a dovetail joint. You can see these are dovetail joints. Okay. The method to fix them is known as straight tree, but this shape is like a dovetail. All right. Remember both these words, they are tightly asked in the questions. All right. See, I've already explained this and the same part is here again. You can see the rotor disc. These are blue ones are my rotor and the red ones are my stator. Okay, these are my stators. Stators are attached to the disc, not this, the outer casing. Now, if you see the above diagram, the first diagram in this here, okay, rotor stator trilo, we understand what is that. We have some portion left that is known as annulus. Okay, annulus or annulus. The space between rotor drum and the compressor outer casing is called the air annulus. To maintain the axial velocity of the air as it is compressed into a smaller and smaller volume, the air annulus must be reduced. Okay, basically it's a portion that we have left. Okay, there is a small portion you'll see we have left for simple reason for the expansion of the blades due to heating, due to multiple purposes. Okay, and to have the airflow go. Otherwise, there will be a huge pressure and the velocity will drop, and there is something called stall of the engine will occur. So yeah, the engine can also stall. Remember that. The gradual convergence is achieved by either tapering the compressor outer casing or outer drum, or in some cases, combination of both. Okay, convergence is what we are trying to converge. Okay, as I'm telling you, the pressure rises in this a little high, and in order to keep the airflow going on, we are doing what? If you draw the diagram of this, we are making it a convergent duct, all in all. Okay, so all in all, what is happening is we're trying to at least make the airflow pass. Okay, so overall, this makes a convergent duct in this shape, whereas individual sections are making divergent ducts. All right, so it's a combination of both. As I told you, it's a combination of both the divergent and the convergence. You can see in the above diagram also, there is a convergence.
So explain this point once again now, which you told that you can solve the engine.
Yeah, stall and compressor surge are we going to discuss in this chapter only. I'm just giving a hint right now. We are having in this chapter only. It's basically when we have a huge rise in pressure, what happens is because it's a huge rise in pressure, velocity drops. Now, when the velocity drops, there is no airflow going in. Okay, the airflow gets stuck here only. The airflow stuck here. This after this is what? Combustion chamber. The combustion chamber is waiting for airflow. Okay, if airflow is not coming in, it gets heated up, and we can have the engine destroyed. That's a part of your surge and stall, which you discuss in this. Okay, compressor stall. The compression ratio of the engine falls as the speed of the rotation of the compressor falls. Okay, as we know, it is directly linked turbine, shaft, and compressor. If one of them fails to do their job, the whole engine will go into a stall. Therefore, as the engine slows down, the volume which the air takes up, okay, gets greater and greater because it is not being compressed so much. See this? Okay. The aircraft, when it's starting up, the pilot did what? The pilot instantly put the throttle in front. When accidentally the throttle was put in front, the compressor started to absorb the airflow. You can see, get the airflow sucked inside. But we know that initially the compressors are not the one. We need the turbine to spin. Okay, only when the turbine spins, the compressor will spin. So when the air was sucked in instantly, what happened is the compressors were not even doing their job. Compressor's job was to compress the air. When there was no compression, we had this thing called stall. And when one of the sections of stall did take place, we have something called, just a minute. Hello. Who's this? Hello. Yeah, sorry about that. Person calling. Okay. So as I was telling you, it's a long continuous process. If one of the things fail, the others will also. Sure. Let's continue.